I'm going to show you today how sports connect to each other. I'm going to show you how this baseball bat helped me play and improve my golf game. So come on, let's go do this. So, how do sports connect? All right, so what is sports connect? So in any sport that you do, there's always a connection to another sport. So whether it be baseball, tennis, football or soccer, if you want to call it, cricket, table tennis even, there's a connection somewhere along the line that you can use, all right? Even in baseball, all right, or basketball, there's connections as well. And they're already moves that you already know, and this is why golf shouldn't be so complicated. And yet golf is a very complicated sport. I think it's mostly down to us guys, instructors make it very complicated. There's instructors out there that like to use very fancy words, you know, like extensions, and so on, flexions and so on, and try to make it as complicated, but they don't need to, right? There's a lot of movements that you can already do that you can blend into golf. And they're movements that you do instinctively and naturally, and yet you find it very, very difficult to do in golf itself. And yet golf should actually be simple, all right? Why should it be simple? Because when you play other sports, e.g. tennis or baseball, when you play baseball, there's a ball coming at you, okay, a lot faster than you would expect. And you've got to try and time it all up and hit the ball, or play tennis, you hit the ball back. Whereas with golf, it's stationary, it doesn't move until you hit it. So it should be a lot easier to hit than actually hitting a ball that is coming at you, say, at 100 miles an hour, for example, all right? And this is where you can use different sports to help you out. And I'm going to focus on the baseball bat. Okay, now obviously I live in England. We don't play baseball over here really. It's more cricket. But baseball this week has actually helped me just find something in my own game. Just reverting back to it and thinking, okay, I knew what I was doing in my swing. I'll show you what I was doing in a second and what difference I've made. Okay, and this made a difference to my path. My path has always been a little bit too much on the inside, and yet I'm now swinging it now a little bit across the line because I wanted to play like a little baby fade, which I'm able to do now, which is, you know, thanks to this thing. And I'm going to show you as well, I want to show you with this that there is certain elements that you can use that will help you to improve your golf. And it's very, very important. And if you can learn to do this, I think you'll find and understand this, and even having a baseball bat or even swinging your own golf club like a baseball, there are certain elements that, you know, they line up and they help you to understand and move more efficiently in the golf swing. So that's really what I want you to do. There's certain elements in all sports that you can take, whether it be baseball, which is, you know, throwing the ball, or even hitting the ball. Basketball, there's an element where you have to squat down to make a jump, and that's how you can use the ground, or learn to use the ground. You can catch a ball this way and jump, and that's a sort of the element that you want the golf swing to help you use ground forces. There's loads of bits you can use, and they're movements that you would never find too difficult to do in the actual sport itself, and yet you try to apply it to a golf swing. You know, if I told you to do this, that and the other, and if I told you to squat when you hit a golf ball, you'd be, you know, all over the place. And yet you did it with the basketball, you know, catch the ball, you receive it, you'd bend into the ground to then make the jump shot, you would use the ground naturally. So it's the same sort of thing with a golf swing. You're down and up, and that's how you'd use the ground. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And there's three main points that I like to talk about when using a baseball bat, and how they revert to the swing. So that's what I want to show you today in this video. All right. Please bear with me as well, though. We don't play baseball over here. I don't know the terminologies, and my stroke or my action might not be perfect, but it's going to be similar to it. I've not really played baseball before, but I can see it, I've seen it on TV, and I can visualize it, and I can feel the motion, okay? And yet, you give some golfers this, they can't feel it. It's amazing, actually. If you give somebody a baseball bat, they never make a bad stroke, and yet you give them a golf club, they can be all over the place, all right? So that's the three, I want to work on three things and show you them, how they can relate to baseball. I had an issue, as I was saying, I'm going to show you, and this is the first one, all right? And I had an issue where I was swinging the golf club, and when I was swinging it into the ball, I was coming a bit too much on the inside for my liking. My flight scope was showing me that I was coming in 3-4 degrees, sometimes on the from in to out, relative from a square path as well, or square stance. It's not as I was aiming that way. And I was finding that I was getting a little bit sort of stuck underneath it and a bit behind it, and I was getting a bit of a push draw, okay, which was happening to my shot. My club was coming in from sort of say 2 to 3 degrees on the inside, and yet my club face was 1 to 2 degrees closed to the path, and I was hitting a nice draw, but sometimes it could overturn it. I'd get the club face a bit too shut, and then it was actually going a bit more of a push hook really. All right, so it was going out to the right and swinging off to the left hand side. In some cases as well, I was actually getting the club face too closed, that I was actually hitting a pull hook as well. And that's still swinging from the inside line. It's all the new ball flight laws. It's crazy. Right, anyway, so I sat there thinking, what is it I was doing? I videoed myself and I had a look at it and so forth. And one of the things that I was noticing I was doing was I was trying to work on, I've been trying to work on pushing this left hip out the way, which is what we should do. But what I was forgetting to do though was pushing my left shoulder out the way as well. So when I push when this left leg's used to push my left hip out the way, this should open my shoulder up and my body up to the target as well. But what I was tending to do was I was trying to get into this position. So I was pushing the left hip back, but my left shoulder wasn't moving at all. If anything, it was going upwards. And this was getting me caught on the inside. So trying to create this position here. So I was trying to create this position. So open the hips up to the target via my left leg pushing back. But my left shoulder was going up as opposed to turning out the way. So my left shoulder was going upwards and I was pushing into it a little bit, and this was causing me to come on the inside with a closed face because I might actually overwork it, instead of actually pushing the left hip and turning my chest to face a bit to the target at the same time as doing this. Okay, and this actually puts me into a much better position to swing down the target line. It's a more neutral path, but also I was able to come just across it a bit and hit this nice little baby fade. And it was also helping me bring down my dynamic loft a bit, because when I was staying like this, I was having a tendency just to be a bit behind the ball at impact rather than actually moving onto my left side and getting slightly ahead of it. So I was thinking, well, how do I get a feeling for that? I know, baseball, all right? And baseball was a key one for me here. And when you swing a baseball bat, there's a tendency when you swing it, you swing the bat back, you take your stride into the shot, and you'll swing it and you'll hit open, and you'll feel everything come around you. And I was feeling the bat swing around me. So it's because I'm swinging it on a horizontal plane, I was feeling as though I was swinging it back, I was swinging it around me. And from here, I could really feel that position, that left leg pushing back, but my hips were opening up and my chest was facing towards the ball, let's say. So if there's a baseball coming towards me here, I was facing towards the ball to hit it. And it's the same from this angle. So if I go back, step back, take my stride into it and hit, I'd be in this position here to take the force of the shot, if that makes sense. So the ball's going to hit here, I'm taking it so I can hit it there. What I wouldn't be doing is I wouldn't be going like that, because otherwise my bat is going to point out to the right hand side and I'll hit it to right field. All right? So I had to get that feeling of swinging it around me, and that was the feeling I wanted. I wanted to release it and swing it around me. Puff, like that. And that's what you would do in a baseball shot. You'd take up, swing, around that so, and my body would open up to the target. And that's what I wanted to do with this shot. So that's where I got it from. So I did it easy. I did the movement easy. It wasn't like I struggled with it. As soon as I put a baseball in my hand and not a golf club, I found it relatively easy to perform. All right, and it's the same thing. So what I then did there was I then stood up, and as if this was the baseball bat, and I stepped back, took it back, swing up, and swung around. I got used to swinging the club around me, and allowing that to happen. And when you stand tall like this as a baseball player, you do it naturally, okay? And then what I worked on then was just bringing it down, bringing it round more, and feeling that position more, coming down, and I've gradually worked it down and around, and down and down and down, to the point when I thought, right, I've done that a few times, I'm now going to try and do that with a golf ball. So I just swung it around, through, and I could really feel myself open up, and all of a sudden my path changed from being 2 to 3 degrees out to the right, suddenly to 1 to 2 degrees left, okay, and I was like, that was easy. And I did it on one shot, which was the funny thing, because I got the feeling, I connected the sport of baseball, which, bearing in mind again, in the UK we don't play baseball really, it's not really features in our market, and that was one of the ways that I felt that it changed my path totally, and it changed my strike, it changed my dynamic loft, it changed everything else I wanted, and it felt freer as well. I was able to release the club better, and funny though, even though I'm swinging it to the left, I actually felt like I could swing it more left and it wouldn't go left, which was bizarre, which is a lovely state of mind to be in. So if you've got trouble up the left-hand side, you can swing it left and it won't go left, knowing that it's going to peel off to the right-hand side. So that was just from working on baseball swings, swinging the club around me. So the feeling is, I feel as though I'm swinging the club over here somewhere to make a good strike. And that's what I'm working on. So that really helped my game, and that was just all from baseball. So back and through, I've got a much better ball flight on it. I could feel like I was really pressurizing into the back of the ball. My hip was pushing back and my chest was open up to the target. I felt like I was facing more at 45 degrees to the target at impact, as opposed to being stuck with my chest down here and getting caught a little bit behind it. All right. So that was baseball, and that was the first one that it helps you with, and it's going to help you with your path. Surprisingly, getting that feeling of swinging the club more around you as opposed to getting stuck in on the inside can make a dramatic difference to your swing. So that was number one. It was a great feeling to feel that. It's a wonderful sensation of feeling as though you're opening up to the target, and it all came from feeling as though I was swinging the baseball bat to hit it. And that's it. I worked first of all on smaller swings, but I did that feeling of swinging around me from up here and feeling as I was swinging around myself, and I just worked on it from there and just got the confidence just to swing back and swing through, and the ball just absolutely rocketed off. All right, so give that a try. Take your golf clubs, swing it around you, get used to releasing the club head, swing it around you, lower it down, swing around you, lower it down to the club's on the ground, swing around you. You'll really feel a difference in your contact, but also you'll see a difference in your ball flight as well. So give that one a try. Transition. How does baseball help you with your transition? Transition is quite a hot topic. Golfers saying, I don't know how and when to transition in the golf swing, and also it doesn't transition correctly. And there's also this thing about shallowing the shaft. Yeah, we do want the shaft to shallow, but we don't want it to go too far so it goes behind us. And there's a lot of people out there trying to teach how to lay the club down. We want it to be in the right sort of area here, really sort of in line with my forearm. But some golfers have to feel like we just twist it back over again. But baseball again can teach you how to shallow, but also when to shallow. All right, I've done videos on this before. I know you know this. If you're a fan, do I have fans? I don't think so. But anyway. How and when to shallow. So when you play baseball and you've seen it on TV and you see them doing it, they'll take hold of the bat. The bat is up in the air for one. Okay, it's not down here. All right, it's up in the air. And when they take the baseball back, as they stretch backwards, their lower half starts to go forwards. So they've got the body going one way and their legs going the other. All right, and as they take the bat back, so they're going to stand here. They'll take. Apparently, this is called stride. I've only just learnt this from watching YouTube videos. But as the bat goes back and the arms start stretching across their body, they'll start to take a step forward, and that's the stride. This is them getting their left leg to be braced and ready to take the force, and as they take the club back here, they're then going to push off that left leg, and that's then going to bring it down to here. So, but one of the things you'll notice as I do this, it's going to help me. So that's when I transition. So when I start to transition, it's actually really early on. As the club goes back to about here, I'm transitioning. Okay, I'm already going. So as soon as it gets to about hip height, let's say, I'm starting to go forward to the left, and that's how I create the timing or the sequencing that I need. But also it teaches me what will happen through transition. So with baseball, you're going to stand like so. The bat's going to go back, and if you notice, the bat stays up above the hands. And as they transition into that left side, the bat then starts to shallow and take that movement here. All right? And that's what you're going to find. It's going to come in here, it's going to shallow and hit here. And that's one of the key things that you're going to find. You can see it works. Now, I could take that to a golf club. Try and do this as best as I possibly can. So I could take the golf club back so it stays higher than my hands, up, transition, and you can see how the club head pops down in the right path as I do this, and then I can hit through. So I can translate that into a golf swing where I can take the club head back, so I feel as though the butt end of the club and the head move at the same time. Club head stays outside my hands, up, up. I've started my transition by the time the club gets to about here. I'm moving up to here, and I can feel it slightly change direction. So it's going to go back and down in this position here. At Malaska Golf, it's always talked about how you should tip the shaft. It gets a bit too misread, that one. If you're somebody who's going too far down here, down this way, and the club's getting too far behind you and the club face is open, then you need to tip the shaft. We don't want you swinging the club like this all the time. We don't want that sort of action all the time, but it will feel that way. But sometimes the baseball swing is needed to shallow the club, especially with longer clubs. So you can try and feel that action. Now, a great way to feel this is the wrist hinge drill, where you actually feel the hands, or the club head is slightly higher than the hands, and you're just going to feel the club go back and then shallow down. That's the transition. You can try and blend the two together. You can probably try and do this off a tee peg, but you're getting that feeling of the baseball. So set up to a golf ball, hinge the wrist up, back and through, and you'll get that feeling of the club head changing directions, and also you'll get the feeling of when to transition as well. And that's a great way of doing it. So that comes from baseball. Again, it's a movement that if I gave you a baseball bat, you would not swing a baseball bat naturally. Even over here in the UK, you would not swing a baseball bat by going underneath like this and then try and hit down like that with a baseball to hit the ball. You wouldn't go this way. All right, you would swing the bat up here like so and shallow it. And yet in golf, we see golfers all the time going from in here, up and over in that action. I think it's because they feel like they need to hit down on the ball instead of trying to sweep into the side of it, and I think make a better connection this way as opposed to hitting down. So that's a great way of feeling it. It's just to hinge the wrist up, back and through. And you'll get a feeling of the club head shallowing as you do that. All right, if you really want to learn how to shallow the club, that's the best way to do it. Put it on T-pig if you have to. So that's number 2. This is going to teach you how to, so it's going to teach you how and when to transition. So it's going to teach you when to transition. So as the club's going back, my lower half is actually already transitioning. My pelvis is actually moving towards the target, and it's going to push back away. All right. So that's a great way to feel that as well. So it's also a power thing as well. So when you swing in a baseball bat, I'll try and do it from here. I'll do it down the line here. So when I'm swinging a baseball bat, you're going to swing up, you're going to brace into this left leg. My transition starts, I'm starting to move like so. My bat is shallowing out. And then what you're going to find is this left leg is going to then push the left hip back. And that's what creates the snap. So to come up to here, back and snap. And that's what creates the snap. The left leg is pushing my hip back. I'm going to go up, and push back. And that's what creates the power to the stroke. So swinging a baseball bat is actually really good for your golf swing. You want to try and then translate that into a shot. And it takes a bit of time, but if you just transition that and feel as though you're actually hitting a baseball instead of a golf ball, I promise you your golf swing will suddenly take on a whole new different level. So back and through, I promise you, you'll feel as though that you're hitting the ball a lot further and a lot better and a lot more control as well. Give it a try. Third and final thing, and this is a great one, especially if you're having poor contact on the ball, but it's what we call line of compression. Now, I have done a video on this before, and you'll please go back and watch it. I'll try and put the link in the description below for it. But it's a great way of feeling as though that you're getting the line of compression. Now, what is line of compression? Or the right arm lining up with the shaft, as we call it. All right. When you play other sports, like I say, the bat starts up higher than the hands. As you move into transition, the bat then shallows, comes down here. And what happens is as you hit into impact, it's a natural thing to do as well, is your right hand will be behind the bat, or will be pressurizing the back here, so that the force of the ball hitting the bat this way, you're stabilizing it and helping that force. If you had your hand under here, you'd lose control of it. The ball would hit it and you'd lose control. So my right hand and my right forearm will line up in line with the bat. Okay, and that helps to pressurize it. So it's as though I'm lining up behind here and I'm pressurizing into the bat. all right? And that's the hit that you'd want. That's what you want. And that lining up, or this line of compression, is really, really important to practice. So if I line that up into a golf ball, my hands would line up like so. I'm pushing the pressure back into the ball. So the force of the ball, or me striking the ball, I'm going to be able to control and stabilize it. Right? When we say line up to the shaft, though, it doesn't mean this. That's not what I'm doing. It doesn't mean it's all one line here. There is an angle. Right? And that's where we see a lot of players hit. Obviously, the left hand is a totally different subject, and I have done subjects on this before, and I will do again. But this action here, this lining up, is really, really important. It wouldn't matter if I was playing tennis either. If I had the tennis was a tennis racket, playing a forehand, the racket would go up, it would then come under, and my right arm and my right hand and right arm would line up with the racket itself. I wouldn't have my elbow up here. Right? So if I was hitting the baseball, I wouldn't have my right elbow high, and I wouldn't come in too underneath either, because again, my hand gets underneath it and the pressure will make the racket or the bat not be stable enough. And that's what we want. We want the right hand to line up with the back of the club, and that's what we're after here. It wouldn't matter if you were putting, chipping, hitting driver, you want the right hand to line up. It's the same thing with the golf club, and this is where baseball can really help you get that feeling. But so can other sports as well. But as I hit the ball, I really want my right arm and the shaft to really line up. I'm putting the pressure behind the grip here to push into the ground. And you can see it from this angle here. I'm really getting that compression feeling here. Now, I've done this before, and you talk about people not compressing the ball well enough, and this is the feeling they want. Well, that's the feeling you want to get. So my left hand, my right hand is pressurizing, and is pressurizing the shaft. I'm not coming in right arm too high, because I would never hit the ball. I would never feel the power here. I would never feel compression here. I want to feel the compression coming in from the side here, so that I'm really pushing into the back of the ball. I've got stability then. The club face has got stability, and I've got all the shaft lean that I want. So all those ones who say that I'm a flipper of the ball, I've got all the shaft lean I want. After I've hit the ball, then I can use my hands correctly to release it. And that's what happens when you use the body correctly. So baseball helps you with this line of compression. Now, to practice this with a golf ball, very simple. I've done it before. You basically would set up to a golf ball. I would then put yourself into impact position. So left hip pushing back out the way, chest is opening up to the target, and my right arm and the right hand and the shaft feel like they're lining up. They might be a little bit down, but it feels to me like they're lining up. And that's the feeling I want you to create. And once you've done that, I've got my weight into my left side. I can then just make a tiny little swing just to get that feeling of compression. So just back and through. I can feel that compression. Once you've done that, you can then start to extend the swing up. So again, I can then set up to the ball. I can set up into that compression line here, like so, and I can just make a back swing and make it longer and build it up. It's just going to give me a feeling of what it's like to hit compression on the ball, or feel that compressed strike. It's a lovely feeling. You can feel the stability. It will feel effortless. So again, I'm going to just put myself in that compression position here, okay, and then just make a backswing and just swing through. I can feel what it feels like, and it's a great way to feel it. So from this angle here, if I put myself in that position, I can feel my right hand is pressurizing the shaft. Again, Sports Connect, if I was playing hockey, for example, ice hockey, you would use your right hand to put behind it, put pressure into the ice, and then to flick the puck on. And that's what you're going to get. This is line of compression with an ice hockey stick. So that's another good way of feeling it as well. Feels like you're pushing it into the ground. You would not push into it this way unless you're pushing down into the ground, but you want to push it towards the target to get that feeling. So great ways of feeling it. And great ways to get, or a great way to feel that compression. You can try to then recreate that again during the stroke, feeling that compression hitting the ball with a big stroke. All right, I get nice stability through the ball then. I can really compress it when I hit it. So that's 3 actions that you can get, and that's one of the things I love we've got with baseball especially. Again, I wish we played it at school now, because I would have been probably a better golfer than I am. But that's what I really want you to work on. So that was the what we call line of compression, or straight up, getting your right arm to line up with the shaft is what we talk about. So if you ever hear me talking about that on Instagram or YouTube, that's what I'm meaning by it. Okay, give that one a try as well. Okay, so that's sports connections, all right? And how does sports connect up to golf? And they all do connect, and that's what you've got to remember. And there's movements that you know instinctively on how to do. So what we've taught you today was 3 key elements that you could learn through baseball itself, and it gave me a great lesson this week on how to use my body effectively or open up to the target, and I wasn't doing this getting stuck position just by swinging the club around me. It also it teaches me as well how to transition. It teaches my clients amazingly well how to transition and when to transition, and also how to transition as well. But it'll also help you to get this right arm line up behind the shaft, which is probably the most important skill that you could probably learn in golf, getting this to line up. If this doesn't line up and you're out of position, you're never going to have control of the bat, okay, or the golf club. And that's really important to try that as well. So hopefully that's been useful for you this week. Please remember to subscribe, please remember to like, please share. Let's get these views up for me, please. That would be great. And I really appreciate your support. And hopefully I will catch you next week on the next one.